Fox News alert and growing controversy over a New York Times report on the deadly Benghazi attack. Welcome, everyone, to America's News Headquarters, and I'm Jamie Colby, in today for Allison Calvada.
Allison's got some time with the family. Jamie, nice to see you. I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning at home or the office. There was new fallout over the terror attacks in the U.S. consulate. And House lawmakers disputing the Times report that Al-Qaeda was not involved in that attack. 4 Americans dead that day. Ambassador John Bolton is my guest now out of Washington on this, and also a Fox News contributor. Mr. Ambassador, good morning to you. You saw the story or good afternoon, I should say. You saw the story in the New York Times. What did you make of it?
Well, I thought it was more of an editorial than a news article. I think it reflects a reporter and a newspaper in the straitjacket of an ideology that you're simply not willing to acknowledge the reality that, as many observers have pointed out, their own newspaper reported contrary findings earlier in the year. I think it's a point of view that says the war on terror is over. Al-Qaeda is a tiny little fragment in Waziristan, and basically there's no more terrorist threat. I think it's just badly misguided.
Technically speaking, I saw the reporter on Meet the Press, and he seemed to make the point that if you can tie it to Osama bin Laden, stamp it with Al-Qaeda, but if you cannot, then it cannot accept that classification or that stamp. What do you make of that, if true?
Well, I think that's entirely consistent with the White House view of the world. You know, up here in Waziristan is this tiny little thing called core Al-Qaeda. And over here in Benghazi, that's something completely separate. That's ridiculous. You know, when we were attacked on 9/11, we didn't respond against a global war on Al-Qaeda. It was a global war on terror. There are a lot of terrorist groups out there, and arguing about some mathematical definition of what constitutes Al-Qaeda, I think, is beside the point. And people ask, well, how could they make that mistake? I think it's the ideology. It's like an ant colony. Once you admit that the basic precept is wrong, the whole colony falls apart. So let's come back to it. There's no global war on terror. There's no terrorist threat. There's no Al-Qaeda anymore. The war on terror is over. And I think the reality of Benghazi is so shocking to that ideology, they simply can't admit it.
There are some suggesting this was cover for Hillary Clinton.
I think that gives them too much credit. I think it gives them too much credit. I think this is an ant colony. This is how people who are caught in an ideology react. Because if you can refute the ideology by what happened in Benghazi, a lot of other things fall apart. The blindness to the threat of radical Islam in the Middle East, in the Western democracies. This is a mindset that says that there is no global threat from radical Islam and terrorists associated with it. And the sad truth is, throughout the Middle East and North Africa, we're seeing terrorism increase over the past several years. You can argue about whether it fits somebody's precise delineation of core Al-Qaeda or not, but these people don't hold corporate board meetings with minutes that decide who's going to do what. A lot of this is just flying in formation. It suits Al-Qaeda to have affiliates that are not under their control. It gives them deniability, but it gives them extra reach as well. And I think that's what happened in Benghazi.
Here's Mike Rogers, House Intelligence Committee on Fox News Sunday, when he was asked about this with Chris Wallace.
There was some level of pre-planning, we know that. There was aspiration to conduct an attack by Al-Qaeda and their affiliates in Libya, we know that. The individuals on the ground talked about a planned tactical movement on the compound. Even this is the compound before they went to the annex. All of that would directly contradict what the New York Times definitively says was an exhaustive investigation. Tells me they didn't talk to people on the ground who were doing the fighting, the shooting, and the intelligence gathering. When you put that volume of information, I think it proves that that story is just not accurate.
Well, what do you make of that?
Well, I think that's exactly right. I think interviewing people a year after the attack, where they say, oh, no, not us, we're not Al-Qaeda, and, you know, it really was that Mohammed video that motivated people to conduct the attack. They know what the story is. They've been told the story before. The President of the United States told them what the story is. The real evidence in any kind of crime scene, any kind of terror attack like this, you're going to find right there at the time of the event. And there was no doubt, not only on September the 11th and the days after, that this was a pre-planned attack. We had cables from the embassy in the month beforehand saying, we are here in Benghazi, we're in the midst of terrorist training camps, Al-Qaeda affiliates, and a rising threat to the special mission or consulate. we can't defend it. We ought to pull the people out or bring them into the CIA complex. So a month beforehand, the people on the ground were saying that. They knew they were in a dangerous environment and that Al-Qaeda and Al-Qaeda affiliates were all around them. I don't know what other proof you need, really.
Well, John Bolton, thank you. This story will continue to be the focus of a lot of debate. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you,
and a Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.